Bill Sterling. I'm a designer from Pinnacle Assurance in Denver, Colorado. I'd like to see if you can, what would you attribute the Webflow University to the rise of your success and the amount of investment you've, in addition to having one of the most approachable tech tools in the market today. Your university is just brilliant, really engaging, and full of really useful, informative tools that brings people in. Your style, the method, the delivery, it's all brilliant. So I just wonder if you could talk a little bit about the investment in it, and maybe is there a future for where it's going?
I can take a...
Before you answer, can we actually get a round of applause for Webflow University and all the people who are working? Thank you.
I mean, the short answer, I could just say Stacy. I actually think Webflow University has been a really interesting learning experience for us, for not only learning the right ways to teach something, because if you look at Webflow, I think if you look at the learning curve for something like a simple drag and drop web builder, it's like you drag your elements in, and we realize when you try to put a button in the center of the screen, and you don't know the principles of HTML, CSS, and you do that, and it chunks, it goes to the top left, you're like, one of two things. One, this software sucks, it doesn't work. Or two, I don't know enough to be successful, and I'm frustrated, and I'm going to go ahead and leave. So very early on, we knew we needed to create some type of teaching to get people onboarded in a way that's like, here's the principles of HTML and CSS so they can be successful. Then came the how, and I think the how actually started with Vlad and Sergi and Brian long before I got involved, before I was a Webflow user, before my agency used Webflow. And I think for us, we just get bored pretty easily. We watch a lot of tutorials, we read a lot of documentation out there, and very often it's long. Very often it doesn't get to the point. So I think what we look at for our documentation team, what we look at for our video team is how can we get to the point quickly, and how can we make it interesting for people? The weird part is how we do it behind the scenes. And so if you put a camera on Greamer, you put a camera on Sada, or you talk to our documentation team, so much of it occurs from us just trying to put ourselves in the shoes of someone who's going to get frustrated with this feature if they don't know how to use it, and then we work backwards from there. I think the other big key to this, though, is that there's this marriage between understanding that it's not just education, it's also community. So we look at education and community at Webflow as people are signing up for this tool. What can we do to make sure on day one, moment one, they have everything they need to be successful? And how can we show up to support them? How can they feel connected to others who might be going through the same thing or who might have been through that? They've been there, they've done that. How can we connect them with other communities, sub-communities, so they have the resources they need to be successful? In terms of investment, God, we really strongly believe in education and community at Webflow. We think community is the lifeblood. I don't know, Em, if you want to add to that. There's a lot there and a lot coming.
Yeah, I think honestly, as a user as well, I think many folks in this room have been deeply impacted by that kind of lonely moment when you're like, oh crap, this is really, I've said crap 3 times on this now, but I was like, this is hard. It's hard to learn and to feel like you don't know what you're doing. And for a lot of people, I think that is a huge reason why the Webflow University is so impactful and why it's such a no-brainer when we think about investment is because it makes you feel like you're not alone. And it's very much so the first step for so many people into feeling like they know people like McGuire and his humor already off the bat to being able to reach out and ask for help in our community. And I think when we think about education and community and really when we think about investment there, it's really a lot of it's time. And it's time that doesn't feel like work because it's all focused on how we can make things easier. And the beautiful thing about that is that through community and through all the incredible comments and even questions like this, it reminds us why we're constantly working on that. And those comments help us better understand where we can move next. So in the future, really continuing to lean on the community of what's that next step, what's the other places that we can start to invest in, and maybe even co-create as we continue to think about our marketplace strategy and how we're expanding beyond our existing user base.
Yeah, and I know you also asked the question about what's coming next. There's some stuff we can't talk about. Stay tuned. So some exciting stuff coming.
Thank you so much.